guys, it's Floss and this is Floss's Corner, where I talk about mainly cross stitch but may also include some of the other things I enjoy doing. Today's video I will be talking about what I've been up to for the last month and a half, because today is 14th of May. So it will include 2 weeks of May and the whole month of April. And if you're interested in what I've been doing, then keep watching. Now, before we officially start the video, as you can see, the background has changed. Normally, I film in the living room on the couch, and I have the alcohol or bar cabinet as a backdrop. But today, I am sitting around the dining table, and this is the kitchen, and that's the cinema, if you can see. I just thought I'd change it up. And this is not how tidy the house normally is. This is normally really untidy, and a lot of the clutter is pushed on the side just so that I have a nice background. And I didn't change my hair color. I just did a toning session yesterday, so the hair color is pretty much more saturated now and looks kind of black, but it's still blue, like very, very dark blue. And as I repeatedly wash, it will just fade away and become more blue. And what else can I say? I think that's pretty much it. And if you do notice my nails look dirty, it's because the hair is still saturated on the scalp as well. So when I touch it, the nail, the fingers all get kind of blue and dirty. That's why. And I think that's all the stuff I can say for now. And let's talk about haul. Now, normally I will tell you about my hobby budget, which is negative right now still. I think it's about 158 in the negative, so I shouldn't have bought anything. But last month, the whole April has been really stressful for me, and I was in a pretty annoyed state for a very long time. And to cheer me up, I nicely asked JP whether I could buy some stuff, even though technically I don't have the ability to. And he said, why not? And at the same time, Laura from I Stitch Birds ? Here on YouTube, as usual, always sent me pictures of what she bought and what she's working on, and always try to encourage me to buy more things and start more things. And usually it didn't quite work, but this time, because I was really down and I thought I'd buy something to cheer me up, I decided to buy something. And she bought some Dimensions Gold Collection kits on Amazon. And I thought, okay, I'll have a look, because she told me they were cheap. And then I bought 2 kits. So one kit was Aussie stock and the other one was US stock. So one pretty much came the next day or the next 2 days. The other one took a little longer. Altogether, they were, I want to say $50-ish. So they were both less than $30 per kit. The first one I got, and by the way, if I seem a bit flustered or seem a bit annoyed, it's because I have filmed this part once already and JP kept distracting me, so I decided to refilm.
Sorry.
It was half an hour of filming. Okay, so the first one was In Her Garden. This is pretty much the companion piece of A Summer Stroll that I already have. As you can see here, it's just lady in the garden. One, it's purely in the garden. The other one has a bit of lake. So they will look really nice together. And so this one is on 18 count 𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐸. As you can see, it had so much grain. So I'm sure there will be a few chunks of green threads in there that you cannot see. And the next one is Winter Cabin. This one's on 16 count 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸. Now this one looks a bit different because I already prepped the threads. The reason being, Laura has this one too, and we want to start it together. Now, if you have watched my video for a while, you might have noticed I tend to avoid Christmassy things and wintry things because I live in Melbourne. We don't have snow. I mean, in the city, we don't have snow. These days with the very weird weather, very weird climate, some of the rural places might get snow here and there, but we don't have the super wintry scene that a lot of the cross-stitch kids tend to have, and I just don't feel really related to those things, even though I am Chinese and I'm from a colder area as well. My city is called 𝓕𝓵𝓸𝔃𝓃𝓮. It's northeast city and it's like a coastal city as well, really close to Korea. Anyway, but this one JP likes, and he thought, Laura has it too, why don't you, start something with her? And we have been talking always. We don't have anything in common in terms of what we like to stitch, so we can never start anything together, and this is a good opportunity for us to do something, so we can do a sell. Now we also go to this cross stitch meetup together. It's generally a once a month meetup, and she was prepping her threads for the sell. We're not going to start anytime soon because she has a pretty big presence online as a cross stitcher, and a lot of people want to do things with her, may it be stitch alongs or some kind of event for whatever, I don't know. So she still wants to start this with me, but she could only do it in September the earliest. But regardless, she was prepping her threads, and the way she did it was she used hole puncher on the Chinese kits, the cardboard organizer thingy, and she said she really hated how long their threads were, so she would do hole punching and just loop the threads over in the holes. And I thought, okay, I've never done it before because I just normally deal with it. I don't like sorting my threads if I don't have to. I hate any other things not related to the actual stitching part of cross stitch. So I never did any organization at all. But this time I decided to give it a go. So I did I used her method. So hopefully this is easier. I had to buy a hole puncher as well because I don't really have one that's a handheld. You have the binder one that creates 2 holes. So I sorted my threads, and this is not the only threads. As you can see from the picture, there's a lot of blues. It's like a reflective snow color. So there's a huge chunk of blue thread in the kit. And yeah, so I will be starting this in September. And hopefully before that happens, I get to finish a couple more things, or at least stitch more on the current whips I have, because I still want to set my whips at 10. I can't deal with too many whips. I get really stressed out and nothing gets worked on. And I also bought other things. So Aldi in Australia has, I think, is it a couple weeks of craft related special buys, and this is the fat quarter fabrics. I want to use them to finish some cross stitch gifts off, and this is 5 different fabrics. They tend to be more soft colors. They have different ones. I'm pretty sure there's one bunch that was very punchy colors, like pink and reds and all that, which doesn't really suit what I stitch and how I want to finish my stuff. So I bought a bundle just to see how I can use it. And because I rarely finish things myself, I thought I'd just exclude this from the hobby budget. And I also bought a plastic hoop from Spotlight in Australia and some needles. So I bought them together. And I actually bought 2 Packle thread organizers as well from Amazon, which I haven't received yet because they are the US stock. If you don't know what they look like this. Obviously this one has a project loaded on there already. Each Packle organizer can have 50 colors, so 25 each side. So you cut the threads to the length you want and just pretty much hook it onto this pokey bit here, and this foamy or like foam parts will fix your threads. And you have this symbol card. I think each organizer comes with at least 10 of these, and it's double-sided, so you can use it many times. And you just put the symbol there, and that correlates to the threads that's looped here, and it should make your stitching quite easy. But it gets a bit tricky when you have more than 50 colors, so then you'll have 2 of them, and these are quite bulky, so I don't know. If you're stitching like haze or one of those full coverage pieces, this might not be the way to go, just because itself might not be able to fit into a lot of the project bags. It's quite bulky, and the plastic bit might get destroyed, I don't know. So I bought 2 because JP wanted to learn how to cross stitch, and we have talked about this before, which projects to start on, because we want to stitch like a companion piece together, and at the same time I can teach him. So I'm just preparing for that, and that should happen relatively soon. Maybe not this month, but next month. So all these purchases are not part of the hobby budget either. And that's the haul. In terms of the Amazon, the Packle organizer purchase, I will, I guess, expand on that a bit later, because there's a little story on that. So now we can finally get to what I stitched the last month and a half. Now the first thing I want to show you is a finish. If you watched my March stitching update, I had a little new start in March, and in the update I said I would finish that new start very soon because I was really enjoying it. And it's by Soda Stitch. It's called Our Wedding Day, and yes, I finished it. And that cross stitch update was actually filmed, I think, on 29th of March, and I literally finished this 2 days later, so on 31st of March. I will put a preview here, and at the same time I'll show you, because I changed the hair color. This will be a wedding gift for a colleague, well actually a colleague couple. So both of them are my colleagues. And the reason why I decided to do this was the bride-to-be is Korean, and the groom-to-be is Hong Kongese. So she would like a traditional Korean ceremony. Is it a tea ceremony as well? As part of their wedding thingy, but he can't be bothered, so she will not be able to have it. And this hopefully will make up for the disappointment for that. And yeah, I changed the hair color to blackish carbonations. The original was blonde, which doesn't suit. So, and I also did the names. These are not their real names. That's why I can show. And this is Jimbo. It's J. I showed it to some other people and they thought it's Timbo, but I couldn't be bothered changing. I wanted to make the names quite small because the whole project is quite small. I don't want the names to take up so much space, so you can only focus on the names. So I stitched them in a quarter stitch kind of way. And I mapped it out and just hoped for the best. And it turned out okay. So yeah, it's very cute. The way I want to finish it is use a hoop and put a fabric at the back, using one of these fabrics maybe, and either they can sort of hung it up from this metal bit from the hoop, or maybe get a prettier ribbon so they can just hang it on the ribbon with the ribbon. And I put my initial there, which doesn't seem too weird. So it kind of just blends in, I think. And this is my second finished object for the year. It is such a fun stitch. I really enjoyed it. So, did I say it already? It's my very first sort of stitch project as well. I have one more I would like to start soonish, considering how fun this was. And I just keep it in this rolling project keeper thing until I can fully finish it. So I think overall this project probably took 10 days, I want to say. It's a relatively quick stitch. Did I say? No, I didn't say. So I stitched it on 14 count 𝐸𝐸𝐸. 2/1. Hey? 3/1, I think. Yeah, I think I stitched it 3/1 just to make sure it's quite full coverage. Okay, and that's that. Then in April, on 1st of April actually, I did a new start. This one is a gift too, and it's a PDF chart from my bobbin, and it's called Funny Coffee, which is a very boring name, but it is what it is. And it's designed by Millie Cross Stitch, but the actual designer is called Irina Trepankova. I will put it, yeah. I'm looking down to see the notes on my iPad, by the way, because how can you remember everything? And once I started stitching this, I just kept stitching it consecutively because it was quite fun. So the first 6 days I was stitching it, and then I stitched 3 more days in May. So I'll put a preview here. It's just a cup of coffee with some spirits coming out of it as it spills over. And this is how much I stitched. Now I am stitching this on a printed 28 count even weave called Rustique I bought it from 𝐸𝐸𝐷 in Australia. This is a fat quarter, I think. I'm gonna say it's a fat quarter. Is it? Doesn't say. I think it looks quite cool, and from the mark you could tell that I normally stitch with the hoop in hand. So I focused more on the cup itself because it is quite boring to stitch. And also, you can see the position of the cup very well. So if you finish that, then you just move the hoop again to this side. Then I don't have to move the hoop around all the time. And I also started the back stitching process. The back stitching on the cup itself is quite simple compared to the actual spirit. And this one has both 1 strand back stitching and 2 strand to give a bit more definition, I guess. And before, when I used to watch cross stitch with 𝓕𝓵𝓸𝔃𝔃𝓽𝓾, she said if you have multiple strand back stitch, instead of using that many strand of thread, it's better to use 1 strand and go over to make up that many. So that means if it's a 3 strand back stitch, you use 1 strand of black and just go over 3 times rather than go over it once with 3 strand. Does that make sense? And I tried both. There's not too much difference, to be honest, but I think it's easier to manipulate how the thread lays when you use 1 strand, because you can just sort of move it a bit if there's a bit of gap between the two, so you could just kind of move it over. Whereas if you have 2 strands on your needle, it's a bit harder to manipulate individual strands when you do have a gap. I hope I'm making sense. Is there something else I want to tell you? So in April, I stitched 6 days and that was about 12 hours. And the 3 more days in May, I stitched 11.5 hours. And altogether, it's 20 or so, 23.5, getting to 24 hours. And this is 37.5%. And obviously, it's excluding the back stitch. I think the back stitch will take a while as well. It is really cute. And this will be a gift for a cafe JP, my hubby, and I tend to frequent. The cafe is a family-owned cafe, so a small family run it, and they're really nice. And they tend to have sort of very cute decor, or they play Studio Ghibli music as well in the background just to relax them. So I thought once it's done, it will fit right as part of their decor. I'm going to complete the actual cross stitch and then put their name logo, like their cafe name, down the bottom. I hope that looks nice. I haven't decided whether it's going to be a full-on black name or not, but we'll see. I need to finish the project first. And that's that. Then the next one I did was, I just call it Bunnies, and I'll put a picture here. It's a gift too. I stitch a lot of gifts. So once I finish it, the person I'm gonna gift to did our logo. Geez, I can't talk. So if you notice on my thumbnails, sometimes on the corner there's like a little cartoon logo. She designed that for us, so for me and JP. And She also painted a painting for Amy, our first greyhound who has now passed. So I thought I'd return the favor by stitching something for her. And I think I started it last year at some point, I don't remember. And this is where I'm up to. This one it's stitched on 16 count hand dyed fabric called Blue Sky. It's hand dyed by 𝓕𝓵𝓸𝔃𝓃𝓮. And I think this is a fat quarter as well. So the designer for this one is 𝓕𝓵𝓸𝔃𝓃𝓮 Designs on Etsy. I stitched this one for 4 days. Pretty much at this point I started gaming, so I didn't stitch that much. Although it's 21.5% at this stage, I think. So this one was designed as a full coverage, but I'm not stitching as a full coverage. So it's optional whether you want to stitch all the background, which is like a creamy color, I think. No one has time for that. So because of that, sometimes the color goes everywhere, especially around the wreath. And so far, it's okay. It's not as fun as some of the other projects I stitched, but right now I'm just trying to complete one bit at a time. So pretty much, let's say if I'm stitching on the wreath and there's this branch coming out, I will be trying to complete that branch even though it has heaps of colors. So I'll just choose a color on the branch, stitch that bit, and then go somewhere else to finish the thread off if I can. And that's how I'm doing it. I mean, the face of the first bunny is almost done. It's quite cute. Very watercolor-esque. And because the picture or the painting she did was watercolors, I thought she might enjoy this. Oh, I forgot to mention, I stitched this because she has 2 bunnies. So I spent 9.5 hours on this one in the 4 days. Okie dokie. And then the next one I stitched was Coffee Break, which is a Design Works kit on 14 count Ada. This is my first and only Coffee Break Design Works kit, and it's quite sizable actually. So once it's finished, it's 12 by 16 inch. Now I am hoping every time I stitch it, I can finish one coffee, but it always takes longer than I expected. Obviously, depending on how full coverage that square is. But yeah. So I am done with the 7th coffee. Finished the cappuccino. I stitched 8 days on this, 16 hours. So the back stitching on this is done too. Sorry, I should have shown you the whole thing. So the goal for this is, if I could finish it by the end of the year, that would be amazing. I still have 5 to go. 5 months left. But yeah, that means I have to stitch about 1 per month. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether I can do that. I will try. And judging by the color this cafe latte will be boring as heck to stitch because it's so much white and I'm stitching white on white. But hey. So once this one is done, I want to put it in the kitchen somewhere, just hanging there. It will be quite nice. Not much to say on this. And the next one I did was the bane of my existence right now. The Thistle fob. I call it Thistle fob. It's Ancient Thistle Scissor Keep. And this was a gift. I think it was an op shop find by my mother-in-law. I hate this one so much. It's the smallest project I have, but I feel like it took 100 years. I'm still not done. I'm not even done with the front bit yet. So I stitched this one on for 3 days, and I was talking to Laura before and told her how much I hated this one. And she said, why don't you take it to work and try to work on it? Every stitch is a stitch you don't have to do anymore. And I did take it to work for 3 days and I stitched 10 minutes altogether. And I felt like because I wanted to stitch on it, my breaks were so rushed. So I couldn't have very good break. And to take things out and put it back in took a minute or something. So the actual stitching time was only a couple minutes every time and I just can't handle it. So I stopped doing that. And I mean, I'm getting there. How do I... Here. I am really getting there. I think the only thing I really enjoyed was the long stitch on the actual flower. The rest was such a drag. And I actually got the border color wrong way round, and that border took me ages because I kept getting the color wrong. I can't handle this, and I also don't know how to hold it properly since it's so small. It's very awkward. I just hate this project. I know it's gonna get done eventually, but I can't wait. I also can't... The hatred on this is just... It's indescribable. But yeah, I really want it done because I want it out of my sight as a whip. So I'm hoping to get this done in the next couple of months. I can't promise it's going to be done this month because I don't want to work on it. So I'm going to cut myself some slack and say, hopefully I'll get this done by June. Did I say I worked on it for 3.5 hours? So I worked on it for 3 days and 3.5 hours. Plus 10 minutes at work. Okay, that's that. And then the next one, the last one I did was Paris in Flowers by Luca S. This is what it looks like. I am on second page, so here, just before the Eiffel Tower. Now this is a series of cross stitch projects I plan to stitch. Of all the places JP and I have visited, and we visited Paris during our honeymoon 5 years ago now. And this one is stitched on 18 count 𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸 and 54 colors, even though it's somewhat hard. It only has full cross and back stitch. It doesn't have anything else, I don't think. Does it have cording? I'm not quite sure. But it's a big one. It's a big project. And this is where I'm up to. Now I think I completed more on the actual building, the shadow bit of the building, and started on this whitish bit. So before I didn't reach the top of the page, but now I have. I prefer stitching it from the left side if I could. So now that I've reached the top, I feel a lot more comfortable stitching and I feel more motivated. Because before, when it was sort of here and stitching up, I always feel anxious because I haven't reached anywhere. Now it's a lot better. And my plan is to finish this page at one point and start using markup RXP to track the symbols. So hopefully by that time I will stitch much faster. And I think throughout this whole cross stitch update I haven't said, you know, to compare how much I've done, because I haven't made this video for a while. I'm kind of getting a bit inexperienced. So there will be comparison pictures throughout the video. Oh my god. Right now it's not very fun because it's just a lot of, do you say grey? Blue, grey and white-ish colors. But the connecting bit between the first page and the second page has a lot of green, so it will be fun. And I did a cheeky 1 hour stitch before I made this video. So overall, in April, I only stitched on this for 1 day for the Stitch With Me I filmed before, and 6 more days in May so far. So altogether was how many hours? 13, 14, 15 hours? About 15 hours. I think the first page will be really interesting because it has a lot of greenery and flowers. The third page would be boring because it has a lot of skies and bits of the Eiffel Tower in between. And then the rest would be fun. So I am kind of on the boring bit right now. And that's all I stitched. Now, talk about plans. There are a lot of exciting things happening in the next few months. So in terms of what I want to stitch the next month and a half, I think the next cross stitch update will be probably end of June because there's no point doing one end of May because not much will be done, and also I have things coming up. So I want to stitch on the countryside. I haven't touched it just because I have to sit down and I can't watch much. So I do want to stitch on this for in the next month or so. Do a chunk on this, and I will continue stitching on the coffee break, and I don't think I will touch, I don't know, honestly I don't think I will touch the funny coffee, but it would be cool to finish it this year as well so I can gift it. And I'm hoping to start on the project with JP. So the ones we will do is the Dimensions kit. This is what I'm talking about, the companion piece. So he will stitch on the Mighty Samurai. And at the same time, I will do the, what is it? Elegance of the Orient. And it will be cool. I think some people might say this is a really hard kit to start, but I feel like if you use one of those beginner kits, it gets really boring. And you don't actually learn that much. You learn the really, really basic things. Whereas with something exciting, it is a bit harder to start off, but there's a lot more excitement attached to the project, so you feel more motivated to stitch. So this one will have a lot of half stitch and back stitching and all that, and a lot of exciting colors, you know, purple, blue, red, green, and he'll also learn how to sort threads. And there's also metallics. In terms of the metallics, I don't know whether I will use what's in the kit because these ones are quite old. So maybe the metallics are shit to begin with. And if it's old metallics, it might be even worse. So in that case, we might get like a Petite Treasure braid metallics. I've never used it before, so it will be a new experience for me too, but I'll see how we go. What else is there? Oh, and I want to elaborate on this Packle organizer purchase. So what happened was I got $100 Amazon voucher for doing a really good job in April when the person that's normally working with me went on annual leave. So the policy at work was if it's around a public holiday, a lot of people shouldn't go annual leave because it tends to get busy. You know, anything to do with hospitality or service, health service wise, public holidays tends to be really stressful. And before, the colleague that I work with never got to go on annual leave around public holiday because she was the only one there. But now that I joined her team, she could, so she did. But things got really stressful for me. So the 2 weeks she was away, it was somewhat smooth for other people, but I felt really pressured because I had to get things organized, and there were some things I wasn't sure of, so I had to ask around. And they thought I did a good job, so that's why I got the $100 Amazon voucher. So I used, actually it's not Amazon voucher, but I could use it for Amazon purchase. So I bought 2 of the Packle organizers. What else do I want to tell you? And also at the end of May, I am going to a Victorian stitch retreat. I have never been to one because I am very shy, and cross stitch is a predominantly Western hobby, or I guess you can say Russian hobby too, but you don't see a lot of Asians doing it. I'm sure it's underrepresented, but you don't see a lot of Asians anyways. And that's what happens in the cross stitch meeting as well, because I'm the only Asian there. And I thought it would be very awkward for me if I went to the cross stitch retreat as the only Asian there, because I wouldn't know what to talk about. There wouldn't be a lot of common topics there. And in terms of age, I'm on the young side too, so they'll be talking about their kids, their grandkids or whatnot, and I have nothing to contribute to. But a lot of the people from the cross-stitch meetup, monthly cross-stitch meetup, ended up going, and they kind of give me encouragement to go as well, as I already know some people, and I decided to go. And this time we will take the 2 dogs too. So JP was kind enough to offer to drive, and we will go there the day before so I can do the Friday session and half of the Saturday session, and then we'll come back Saturday evening. So we'll stay there 2 nights. And I am thinking about doing a vlog sort of thing, but I don't know whether I have the audacity to film other people or ask whether they could be filmed or whether their projects could be filmed. So I can't promise anything at this stage, but at least I could show you what I'm bringing and the journey there and what I'm doing at the retreat, maybe clips of it. Or if I feel too embarrassed, I can sort of film when I go back. Just show you, okay, I stitch this bit. What else? And I think that's pretty much it, cross-stitching wise. So then maybe I'll touch on, I guess, personal life wise. I did mention April was very stressful because of work, and also we had mice problem. It started while we were away in New Zealand. So we came back and the mother-in-law said, you had visitors. And since then, we kept finding mouse poos. And it just got really frustrating and very stressful. And eventually we decided, okay, enough is enough. We're going to clean and we're going to set out mouse traps, block all the holes that we can block in the kitchen. The kitchen was not done very professionally, so the people left a lot of holes around the piping, and we had to, well, JP had to block all the holes as best as he could. And then so overall we killed 5, and the dogs actually killed 2. So we managed to get rid of 3 mice inside and 2 mice out in the garage. And we haven't seen one for 3 weeks now, I want to say. 3 weeks. So it's not as stressful now, because fingers crossed, we don't have much of a problem now. And that's why I was quite down. There's just a lot of things happening. And at the same time, I had my yearly sort of medical checkup thing coming up. So I have a couple problems that require yearly checkup, and I was trying to organize appointments for that as well. And I hate calling. Each call makes me very stressed out. But you have to do it because a lot of the appointments can't be done online, very stupidly. So that it's scheduled now, and hopefully all goes well. And I don't know whether I mentioned about the bathroom renovation upstairs. It's like a guest bathroom. It started before Christmas. I want to say 3 weeks before Christmas, and it's finally done. It was very weird because we had a lot of delays. So the first delay was around Christmas. We both got COVID, so the finishing touch couldn't get done, had to be delayed. And then the project manager, project manager had his dad passed away, so he didn't want to work for quite a few weeks as he was trying to recollect himself. And then everything else was done, just the painting of the actual toilet, because as they installed, the toilet and tiles and whatnot, there were some scuff marks and they had to be repainted. And the painter's dad passed away. I just felt like, I mean, it must be superstition, but what is going on? So the whole thing just kept dragging on, and finally it's done in May. So now we have beautiful bathroom and toilet. And what else? And also, if you don't know, I have 2 greyhounds. Their names are Rocket and Rex. So Rex is a dopey, big greyhound that generally is very happy to meet odd dogs, but Rocket is very racist, we call it, because he's only into greyhounds. Any other breeds, he'll bark, he'll go very reactive. And we just recently started obedience class, and this is the 3rd week we've been going. I mean, in obedience class, if you've been with a dog, they tend to teach a lot of commands, you know, sit, which greyhound don't sit, heel, blah, blah, blah. The main goal for us taking the dogs there is so that they can socialize, especially for Rocket. Because we do want to do family planning, and what if I'm pregnant and I need to walk the dogs? I just want to make sure Rocket will not go berserk when he sees a dog, because it can pose some threats to my well-being. And also, if other people need to look after, like my parents or some other dog sitter need to look after the dogs, it's just easier on them too. So far it's been okay. I think they did really well as greyhounds, as greyhounds don't normally have recalls and they don't want to follow commands. So that's what's making us quite busy as well. And we also have somewhat regular Dungeons and Dragons sessions now. And if you don't know, it's kind of like a real life role play sort of game. You have your character that you're playing, and everything you do is determined by dice rolls, whether it's successful or it's not successful. And it's quite fun because you level up, you do your story, you fight enemies, and you get to learn different skills as well as your character. And so we're trying to do this semi-regularly too, and each time when a session happens, it's very full on, and afterwards I feel really drained. So that takes a whole day pretty much. And our team has the Dungeon Master and 4 players right now, and we might have a 5th player joining, either in the same storyline or maybe we'll start a new character. And like I said, recently I have been gaming a lot more. So the game we're playing now is called Divinity Original Sin 2. The reason why we decided to redo it is technically we finished the game the first time round, but after we finished or completed the final fight, the game bugged out, so we didn't get to see how the ending was, but we just counted as, you know, finished it, whatever. And this same studio that made this game also made Baldur's Gate 3, which is similar to the Dungeons and Dragons that I mentioned. So we thought, oh, we will replay Divinity Original Sin 2 to get a feel of, you know, what the game might be like. So when we play Baldur's Gate 3, we won't feel so foreign, like we don't know what to do. And yeah, so far it's been quite fun because we did different things than the first time round. And it's a very big game, so we're only at the 2nd place. And we really poured a lot of time into it, especially in May. We've decided one day hobby, one day game, one day hobby, one day game. Otherwise, we just keep gaming and, you know, we don't get any hobby done. And the next few months will be quite gaming intensive too, because we've got that game to play and there will be other games coming out that we want to purchase. So there's the Baldur's Gate 3 I mentioned, and there's also Diablo 4. We played Diablo 3 and it was really fun, so we're really looking forward to Diablo 4. And Diablo 4, maybe this is too much detail, but I don't care. Diablo 4 has to be on next gen console, PS5, which we don't have, so we'll have to buy it too. And so there will be a lot happening in terms of gaming. So I think cross stitch will take a hit, but I will need to find some kind of balance between the two, and also doggies, and also work, and also life, and so yeah, it's gonna be quite challenging in terms of time management. And then this is too early, but end of July, JP and I are going back to China for 2 weeks to visit my parents, and we'll have the dogs looked after by some people. I might film in China, I'm not sure yet, but I think I'll do some cross stitch in China, and hopefully the whole 2 weeks is not going to be too busy. And is there anything I'm missing? I don't think so. Oh, and also I still haven't got my projects back yet from the framer. It's been 6 weeks, but these days materials come really slowly, so they literally just got the frames in. They haven't framed it yet. And once I receive the Victorian Elegance framed, I will show you in either a short or maybe the vlog, because hopefully it's coming in the next week or two. And that's it. And I think I did mention the next cross stitch update will be end of June, hopefully. Yep. Oh, damn it. I actually did forget something, because I did mention this is my second time filming this video. I decided to ask a question in every cross stitch update video to you, because YouTube is nice and all, but it's very one-sided right now unless I do a live. So you get to know more about me hopefully with every video that's being put out, but I still don't know much about people who are watching my videos. So the question I'm gonna ask this video, and it's optional whether you want to answer in the comment section or not, is who is your favorite designer for cross stitch? And you can say whatever, just try to rationalize it. You can go deep, as in this person believes in this that I also agree with, or I stand with this person because of this principle, or whatever. Or you can go at surface level as this person likes to design dragons and I like dragons, that's why this person is my favorite designer. Whatever, doesn't matter. So just in the comment section let me know, and I'll read them, and hopefully I'll discover some new designers and I'll have a look, you know, what patterns or kits they have, and find something I like or something on my wish list. And I think that's it. Yeah, so hopefully it won't be too long till I see you next time, and before I see you, just make sure you stitch a lot, but also find a hobby life balance, and connect with me in the comment section or on social media. Follow my Instagram, even though I don't tend to update very much. Well, if you keep liking my pictures and following me, maybe I'll feel more motivated to put out more pictures, more posts. And that's the end of the video, I think. I don't know whether I will keep this background for my next video or go back to the living room. I'll see how I feel at the time. And I'll see you whenever.